Hey everyone, Paul Johnson from Waconia, Minnesota, and also part of the Laughing Trout Fly Tying Club. Today we're going to be tying a Micky fin. So how this came about was some people in our club said, hey, we should tie this fly. And I had not tied it before. I did not really know anything about it. So I started to look it up and thought, well, yeah, this is kind of cool. So just wanted to share this with you. So what I found is that the original pattern was created way back in the 1890s by a gentleman from Quebec, Canada, Charles Langevin, I believe his last name is pronounced, and tied it and fished it and had some pretty good success. It was called the Langevin fly back then. And in 1932, an outdoor writer by the name of John Alden Knight was given this fly in upstate New York and found that it really worked for him that day. And on one day in 1936, he reportedly caught 75 brook trout on this fly. So he started calling it the Assassin. Shortly thereafter, a gentleman by the name of Greg Clark, who was an outdoor writer and sportsman, he named it the Micky fin, which we know it as, after reading about the death of the actor Rudolph Valentino. Apparently, Rudolph Valentino died after drinking several spiked drinks in a bar, which they called Micky fins. So it went from an assassin to a Micky fin. So I just thought that background was pretty interesting. I'm going to be tying it today on a size 8 streamer hook. This is actually a Tiemco 9395, so it's a 4X long streamer hook. The underbody, there's two things we got going on here. I have some silver holographic tinsel, and then French tinsel wrapped over that. And then the wing, it's a hair wing streamer. And so there's 3 clumps of hair, bucktail. We have 2 yellow clumps and then 1 red clump. So let's get started. I think an 8 would probably about as small as you'd want to tie this pattern. The thread is kind of important. You want to use really small thread, or at least the smallest thread that you can get by with to keep the bulk of the head on this fly down a little bit. So I'm just going to start my thread right behind the eye, and I have a spool of 70 denier UTC ultra thread. Now I have a length of that French tinsel. I'm going to tie that in, and then I want to spin that around, and I want it to end up on the bottom of my hook shank. So I'm going to wrap that all the ways down to about the barb. Trying to do my best just to keep that tinsel right on the bottom of the hook. The other thing we want to do here is keep everything real smooth. Next, I have a piece of the holographic tinsel. Any silver tinsel would work just fine here. I'm going to tie that in at that same point. And I'm actually going to use my rotary feature on my vise to wrap this in. So I'm just going to throw a 1/2 inch in there, spin around my bobbin cradle. And hopefully this doesn't get too wonky on the video here. So I'm just going to go down, or from front of the hook to the back of the hook, and then I'm going to come back with it, and then I'll tie it off there. So now I'm to the back. Now I'm just going to reverse direction and bring it up to the eye of the hook. Trying to keep it smooth. You know, we do have that wrapping that's going to go over that to form a rib. And that's going to hide some imperfections as well if you have any. So just clip that off. And I'm actually going to do the same thing. I'm going to use my rotary feature again to wrap this ribbing forward. And what you want to do here is just get evenly spaced wraps. And then we can spin that bobbin cradle back out of the way. Secure that down. Now I like to use a fingernail clipper to clip this stuff. It's a little dense and a little bit, I think, just hard on the scissors. So cut that off. Bring our thread wraps just a little bit back. Now I've already stacked the bucktail. So what I did is I took a clump of bucktail, cleaned it, and then stacked it up a little bit. And you want to use less certainly here than more, because we are going to have 3 clumps of hair. So I'm going to tie in this first clump. And I'm going to lift it up in the front here. Try to cut it off as cleanly as I can. Didn't do a very good job there. I think we'll be able to salvage that. We'll have to just clean that up a little bit. So that's the first clump. Now I've got a clump of red. I struggled a little bit with my red bucktail. It's a little bit, the yellow is straighter. This has got a little bit of a curl to it, and struggled to try to get it stacked and clean, but I fought with it and I think I won. Same thing, we're going to come in and cut that off. Now at this point, I'm going to put a dab of super glue. And that's just going to kind of hold that bucktail all together. And now I've got one more clump of yellow. Get just the right amount, I hope. Lay that right on top, match up the tips. All right. Now we're going to try to form a nice, neat looking head to this fly. I got a little bit of a disaster there, as you can see. Didn't get that first clump tied in real well, or cut back real well, tied in with. I'll do some whip finish here. Cut that off, and then I'll come in with some UV resin just to finish up the fly here. And then I'll hit that with the light. And there we go. There's a finished Micky fin. That's a couple things here I don't like. We'll just clip those out of the way. I messed up just a little bit. Didn't get that head quite as neat as I would have liked it with that first clump of bucktail. I just didn't get it cut out of there quite clean, but certainly isn't going to affect the way the fish take it. So just kind of a cool pattern. Check it out. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks.